Okay, let me make sure I'm online. Okay. Hello, I'm Alex from A.P. Inc. So today I'm going to be picking up where I left off previously. I've been creating logos to fit on top of golden and platinum award discs. So continuing on, I don't know if this is necessary anymore, but I'm going to give you the reference of the gold and platinum awards, and then the logo that I'm going to be starting on. So Spice Girls, I've got my own version of the logo. So I had started at least trying to figure out the placement before my computer had some kind of issue. So we're gonna just continue where I left off last time. So this is an inch wide mark that I'm gonna try to fit Spice on, and then I'll try to fit girls under here, I think, or maybe girls under here. I'm not sure yet, but I need to make sure I leave room for golden and platinum at the bottom. So I was gonna measure like that, but this might make more sense. I want to try to fit the entire word on here without getting clipped by the ends or the edge of the shape. Let me sharpen this really quick. Try to get a finer line. I just wanted to see how tall that was. But I think I'm going to bring it down one tick mark because it runs into the side too much. Excuse me. So this is, I don't know, that's the half-inch mark. That's the quarter mark. So it's not half inch, and it's bigger than 1/4 inch. I don't know what that would make this. Just trying to make sure my guidelines are straight. Just putting in the guidelines for the golden and platinum on the bottom, and then I'll get into putting in spice. Okay, just to make sure I fit this within 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so spice is a 5-letter word. I'm gonna fit I on the center line here, and then work the other letters off that. There is a small space between each letter, so I think this would be a 1/16 of an inch. I'm just trying to figure, the I is also the thinnest letter, but to try to figure exactly how much room I should give each letter. I think this would be too small, but to see how it looks if I gave each letter kind of the same space, so 1/4 of an inch, trying to keep the 1/16, I think, of an inch space between. I'm just trying to mark this out and see how it looks, and then excuse me, I'll decide from there. I think I've got the eye too big. I did try to excuse me. I did try to shrink the eye. It's still a bit too big, but let me try to lay out the marks again. Should evenly split this space. This takes away from the space between the letters. I can try to pull the back edge of the P away from the separation line to try to add that space in. I'm splitting it in half so I have a center line to work off for the split in the S and where to line up the center post for the E. That and where I can pull the P down, the round part back into the post for the P. Hopefully any of that made sense. It might look kind of busy, but once I do the liner, hopefully it'll stand out a bit better. Okay, so whatever font that they used for this, the bottom, middle, and top of the fingers, I guess, for the E are all even, whereas I've seen some that like the center one is a bit shorter than the top and the bottom. Okay, so again, it might be kind of hard to see because of all of the construction lines, but that is one rendition of Spice. With the curve lines on the S, the P, and the C, this looks more like a pixelated kind of font, but the kind of pattern on all of the letters almost looks like it's um, sewn. I should try to figure out where girls should go, but I'm moving on to writing in golden. Now, if I put girls underneath the E, I think it would be way too small to actually be legible. So this, and to put girls under here, or I could try to fit girls under, like half under the I, C, and E. I think if I stick with the 16th of an inch space, because there is like a 16th of an inch space between Spice and the center circle. So it would stretch girls out a bit, make it bigger, but it would still be tucked under Spice. Okay, so this is a ½ inch in length. So to split that in half for where I should try to fit the R and then work off of that. So again, they've put a space in between each letter, but their scale is much bigger than what I'm working with here. Because it's easy to work on a bigger scale and then shrink it down. trying to split the remaining space for the G, the I, the L, and the S. Okay. Okay, sorry. I will be right back. Okay, I think before I get too far into this, to really look at this and see if I think it's going to be legible. I mean, maybe it will be if I was working on a bigger scale. But then if I was working on a bigger scale, I'd be able to fit it completely under the E as in the reference. So I think the best thing I can do here is to try to move it under the center circle. So there's like a 1/8 of an inch space between the bottom of spice and the center circle. So I'm gonna move down 1/8 of an inch from the center circle. So if I filled up the entire space between this mark and golden, it would be legible, but I'm thinking maybe to keep some space, that, and to kind of emulate the smaller font for girls, maybe I'll go 1/8 of an inch for the height of girls. If I kind of copy how small I've got golden and just kind of duplicate it for girls. I think I'm gonna widen this just a little bit. Trying to figure exactly how wide I should make this. If I go a ½ inch, it's going to be no different than what I've got down here. But I kind of feel like to go a full inch is going to be kind of overkill. If I did an inch. Okay, maybe what I'll do is I'll give myself an inch and then kind of mock up where the letters should be. Okay, so starting with R, that's like an eighth of an inch. I'm not sure if I should widen the letters to accommodate the space. Okay, an eighth of an inch for the R, and then I think like a 16th of an inch space before putting in for the I. The L. And the S. Okay, so G, the I. I think if I made, I was gonna say, I think if I made an even space between the I, it would look too awkward. But to refer back to the reference, so R space I, and then I need a space and then room for the G. Okay, and then I think just try to find the center for this. So I know where the center point for the G, R, and S should be. Now, it could be just, this is as zoomed in as I can get, but it could just be the size, the scale, but any kind of like curve at the top of the R and at the center point look more squared off. But then it also looks like the pinkish red that they used is bleeding. That's R. This still, I'm hoping even at this scale it'll be legible. We'll see. L. And again, it could just be the scale, but the S that they used in Girls versus the S that they used in Spice don't look the same. Now, at this scale, I could try to block out the letters, but I think the fine liner that I'm going to use might be thick enough to add the thickness to the letters. So I say that while working on the S, even though I've already kind of bubbled the R and the L. L, I, and then G. Now, the only thing I'm not sure of, so far I've managed to do all of these with just fine liner. Even the red was a fine liner. which I was going to use the same red here, but the color switch in each of the letters of spice, I can go as far as I've got red, green, and blue fine liners. I'm trying to decide how I should do this. I mean, okay, the in spice, the I is dark blue. It looks like the P is green, the C is yellow, the E is red, and the S is a light blue. I don't have a yellow fine liner. What I could do is the S and the I could be blue, and then the P and the C could be green, leaving the E red. I don't know. I'm thinking, because I've done just the letters for the G, I, and S, if I should unbubble the R and the L. Okay, it's muddy because of the size. I'm debating going to look at my stash and see if I have any other colored fine liners. I don't think I do, but I'm not sure. I'm just putting in platinum. I'm trying to decide what I should do. Okay. I want to go look and see what I might have for other colored fine liners. I will be right back. Okay, sorry. I thought I actually did have other colored fine liners, but they were brush tip, which is not going to help me here. So I think I'm going to attempt to do what I said. I'll do the S and the I blue, the P and the C green, and then the E red. I should mock this one up too, but I want to see how this looks. This is Prismacolor Premiere 05 blue fine liner. This isn't going to be as squared as the reference. E for the P and the C. It's clearly not going to be as colorful as the reference. Unfortunately, I am stuck with the colors that I have. And then after I do the E, I'm going to go in and do girls. I mean, this is a fine liner, but I'm trying to thicken the line, excuse me, of the fine liner to make the letters look a bit more substantial. Okay, and then for golden, I've got a black, excuse me. Okay, I've got a black 0.2 fine liner. that I'm going to use for golden and platinum. I think I'm going to give that a minute to dry after I do platinum, erase the pencil, and see exactly how bad it looks. See, if this wasn't a one-off project, I would go and see what I can find for other colored fine liners. Something about the color mix here reminds me of, I think, Skippy peanut butter. I'm trying to remember what the Skippy logo looks like. Okay, I was way off. I just wanted to look really quick, so I looked up Skippy peanut butter. Okay, let me erase this, and we'll see how it looks. I think girls in golden are a bit too close. Like, I could do another one, but if I should do another one or just kind of deal with it, because it almost looks like Girls Golden, Spice Girls Golden, instead of the logo and like the label. I mean, I could move girls up here under spice, but it might be too squished looking. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to look at other space logos. So they have actually kind of spaced out the girls under the C and the E, which is what I was gonna do here. But again, I think because of the scale, it wouldn't have been legible. Ice Spice? I really don't know if I like this. I think I'm gonna let this one sit and maybe move on to another logo. Okay, let me grab a different reference. So I think I'm gonna do TLC here. So to measure out first, I want to try to center the logo in this space. So I think to measure down, a 1/4 of an inch, measure down a 1/4 of an inch, and then measure up a 1/4 of an inch. And that's the space I'm going to try to fit this logo in. And we'll go an inch. I don't know if that's actually straight though. I don't think it is. Okay, that's... I can still see the center marks that I made for trying to center the circle. So I'm just putting those back in. So maybe I can try to square this up a bit easier. Okay, so between where the tick mark is there and the center line here, it's a 1/2 inch. No, is it? No, the 1/2 inch line is here. So marking out where golden is going to go, measuring up a 1/4 of an inch, and then measuring up another 1/4 of an inch, so 1/4 inch total. The first mark is going to be the baseline, and then the second line is going to be the cap. Okay, so from this construction line, this is the 1/2 inch line. We're one tick mark below that. Staying in that 1 inch space. Okay, I'm going to do the same on this circle. Put those division lines for where I tried to center the circle. Hopefully you can't see the top of my head. I'm trying to see past the camera. Oh, I got kicked offline. Okay. I don't think that's straight. Okay, so to try to put in those same construction lines, so to measure up 1/8 of an inch and then an eighth of an inch. And then to measure up from the top of the circle, 1/4 of an inch. Try and keep my line straight at 1 inch. And then I had done a tick mark under 1/2 an inch. Okay. So from here, I mean, obviously I'm going to put the TLC in. I'm just debating on if I want to keep the rectangle and the top and bottom line as in the reference. Okay, if I think a 1/16 of an inch. I think this is going to be a bit taller than the reference. But to work with what I've got here. So in this instance, the construction line becomes part of the logo. Okay, so to try to put in, space out the T, L, and C, I'm gonna center the L so it'll be in line with the center construction line. I think 1/4 of an inch. And then like a 1/16 of an inch space between the L, the C, and the T. So I'm gonna mock in the L here, the C here, and the T here. But I think to create an inner border around the packaging shape, so it's gonna squat the letters, I think by a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. I'm going to use that bottom construction line for the space as the bottom of the C, or the L and the C. And then for here, I'm going to use the construction line on the top and the bottom as the top line and bottom line of the C. Along with this division line, I'm going to use that for the side. And then again, to use this top line as the top line for the crossbar of the T. So in this logo, it doesn't look like this is the top of the T. This is the uh, leg of the T. It's not in the center, it's off center. And it's also kind of curved, almost like a J. So maybe this is a bit busy and it's hard to see. Hopefully I can fix that when I do the line art. I'm going to move on and do the same construction lines here. I'm trying to decide if I want to do that top and bottom line. See, I think this is the more TLC is, I don't think, performing anymore, but I think this isn't necessarily their permanent logo. I think this is just the logo that they used for their last album. So again, measuring around this rectangle a 1/16 of an inch. And then another 1/16 of an inch all the way around for the, or at least on the top and the bottom for that space. There's probably, I mean, there for sure is a space all the way around, but with how the perspective of this logo is, you can't really see the space as clearly between the uh, container and the T and the container and the C. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, so just refreshing my memory. This is a 1/4 inch. And then a 1/16 of an inch on either side. Okay. I think just because I have done other TLC logos, I just wanted to look. See, one of the album covers I did use this, hopefully you can see that, was this kind of blocky color block uh, color block logo. Yeah, that's the problem with trying to look up TLC band. I specifically did TLC band logo, and I'm still getting logos for the TV channel. I could go just with this, and for that I could take off the container construction lines, and it would potentially still stand up. To refer back to the album covers that I've done for this, okay, there's one logo, which is this logo that I'm trying to copy. There's another one, and that kind of color block logo. See, I guess I'm kind of thinking, because I think this is the last logo that they used, that maybe I should actually stick with this look. You know what? Just to be sure, I looked up TLC band logo 2026 just to see if there is another logo out there. Okay, yeah, I think to put in this top and bottom bars. Okay, so we're really going to be pushing it here for space. I think to measure up a 16th of an inch and down a 16th of an inch, and then make that decorative bar a 16th of an inch itself, which is really pushing against the top and center marks the top of the circle and the top of the center cutout. And I think if this is an inch, it looks like maybe they've made those decorative bars maybe a ½ inch, pulling in on either side a quarter of an inch. But I think for this space here, so I don't run in to the sides, I'm gonna go a quarter of an inch. Okay, I was hoping to get in. I know I kind of got this one done. I was hoping to get both versions of this, and at this point, both versions of this one, but I have unfortunately run out of time. So I am going to have to end this here. If you'd like to see the continuation of this, please make sure that you're following me and that your notifications are turned on so that you're notified for the next time I go live, because I do not always notify through my social medias that I'm gonna go live. But other than that, thank you to anybody who watched or watches this. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.